Hey, this is Mrs. Hernandez. We're going to take another dive into the syllabus. This time we're going to talk about Weber State's attendance requirements, late work policies, and the behavior expectations during class. So again, we're taking a deep dive into the syllabus, but only a few parts. It's a large syllabus, so we're just trying to take it piece by piece. So you're aware of what we're doing and you're aware of what the expectations are, so you don't feel like there are any surprises, okay? You are going to need to read the whole syllabus yourself. There are some things that we're not going to go over. We're just going to kind of do a big overview on these major policies, but you still need to read the fine print technically. Just keep in mind that sometimes these policies can seem intense. Most of these policies are Weber State's. I can't control those, but I can offer you care and support to help you toward your success, even with those policies in place. So I do care about you, and just let me be your ally and your teammate on this in this process. So the first thing is like behavior in class, and I really hope that it really don't have many issues with behavior in CE. But just to have it be said, there are always a few who just really struggle. So let's go over it. Basically, you just need to act like you're in a college class. So I'm going to expect that of you. And it's going to be weird when you act like a high school student and not a college student, because this is a college class, right? The first thing, obviously, and this especially gets into like when we're talking about peer reviews and giving feedback to each other, or we have research papers and somebody's paper that you're reading, you really don't agree with their opinion in the research paper or something like that. We have to treat each other with the golden rule, right? We have to be excellent to each other. We don't have to agree. We don't have to be everyone's best friend, but we do have to be excellent to each other. Mostly because this class is a writing community. We are all on the same team. You, me, all the other students in the class are all working together to get everybody's best work on the page and submitted so Weber State can give everybody the credit. That's the goal. So even your table mates and your classmates in the class, you have to be on the same team with one another. It's not a contest. We need to be nice to one another. We need to be excellent to one another, as it were. Obviously, if you violate a safe school policy, like if you discriminate or are derogatory toward anyone, even if you were kidding, I have to report it. There's no place in my classroom or any classroom for any nonsense like that. Let's have that be enough said about that, right? Don't make it weird. That's it. You have to participate in this class, in discussions, in peer reviews. It's a requirement in Weber State syllabus that you have to participate positively and productively. I think their language that they have in it is that you can't simply just show up. You have to like be present and participate. It's a thing. Please be prepared for class every day. You've been in school for a long time and now you're in college. Bring your stuff. Bring stuff to class, bring the required materials. It's really, really important. In case you forgot what those required materials are, it's a charged and ready to go laptop, pen and pencil, a comically large binder to fit all the handouts, 6 different colored highlighters, and the class textbook every time. Again, you need a large binder. I'm going to give you a ton of handouts, and I'm not sorry. It just is what it is, right? We have assigned seats in this class. I know that's a huge bummer in a college class, but I have to assign seats based on peer reviews. I get very strategic about who sits where as the year goes forward. You just have to honor that and trust that I know what I'm doing. So please sit in your assigned seats. Let's not argue about it. Let's just be like college students about it. You know what I'm saying? There are a few things that bug me a lot. And if you don't do those, then you and I are always going to have a great time. If you do the things that bug me, it's going to be a thing, right? So first of all, don't complain about your seating arrangement. Believe me, it's that way on purpose. Don't talk while I'm talking. It's rude. Please don't ruin the stuff in my classroom. Please don't pick the stickers on my tables. Please don't break stuff, peel stuff, write on stuff, vandalize stuff. Come on now. Like, come on. Don't take my stuff. Like if you borrow a pencil or a pen, put it back. Don't take my stuff. I have lots of fun stuff in my classroom. Don't steal it. Cause like, no. You're welcome to eat in this class, but if you make your eating like a production, like if you walk in with a full McDonald's meal and proceed to fan out your fries and your burger and your drink and you sipping it loudly and shaking the ice, don't make it weird, man. I'm fine if you eat in class. It's a college class. I don't have any problem with you having a snack. But please don't make it a distraction to yourself or to other students or to me, because I have that ADHD and I really can't handle the distraction, you guys. Please don't make me clean up after you. Don't leave your bottles, your food wrappers, your candy wrappers. Don't make me clean up after you. If I do clean up after you, I'm going to ask for a tip and I'm not sorry. Please don't congregate by the door at the end of class. Most college students don't, but I'm not allowed to like let you go early. So please don't ask. Don't congregate by the door waiting for the bell to ring. Just stay in your seat and be cool, man. You know what I mean? Be nice to the substitutes for your class. Most of the substitutes that come to this building are weird. So just expect it. Be nice to them anyway. If I'm ever absent, everything will be on Canvas and you probably won't even have to talk to the substitute. So just be nice. I've had some things happen with this class because the policies are kind of intense. Students lie to their parents about like what they can and can't do. Like instead of doing, because the parents know that the class is strict, they just believe their kids. Like I had a student tell a parent that he couldn't turn something in late, like late work wasn't accepted when it was, and he needed to do it in order to move to the next step. But he just lied and said that it could be accepted late. I had another kid who told me that his paper was already written. He just was all the way done with it and just lost it on his computer. Little did he know that my husband's a computer programmer. My husband commandeered his computer with his permission, and the paper was nowhere on the computer. He didn't write the paper. So just be honest with your parents about this class, because if you and I have an issue or you're in jeopardy of not failing the class, I'll communicate with your parent because you're still a high school student. And it's not going to be fun when I have to break the news to them that not only are you not doing well in the class, but you also lied. Be honest. Oh, we don't make substitutes cry. We already talked about that. Hall passes don't get really weird with seniors for the most part. But there are some of you who like to like go out into the hall and call a friend or meet a friend in the bathroom. Do not. You're supposed to use the potty during the breaks or during lunch. So please don't come scan into class and then immediately ask to go to the bathroom. Like take care of that in between classes. And if you go out for lunch, you still need to be in class on time. You silly Billy. Okay. Oh, and if you leave the room, I know it's a college class, but it's still a high school building and I'm still legally responsible for your whereabouts. So please don't just leave without like talking with me first, because I'm responsible for your whereabouts, legally. Don't use the hall pass in weird ways. Don't make it weird, man. My attendance policies are different from Weber State's. Here are my attendance policies. My attendance policies are the schools. You need to scan in with your school ID in order to be marked present and on time. If you're late to class if you aren't scanned in before the bell rings. So scan your ID before the bell rings. If you're ever late to class, I have a little yellow slip as you walk in the door on the shelf over here. Fill out the yellow slip and then put it on my keyboard. So you're probably going to be marked absent until I'm able to get to it either after class or once class has started. So please know, having your parents text me 3 minutes into class because you were marked absent, but really you were late. Come on now. So fill out a yellow sheet. That's just to remind me to mark you present, because once we get going, it's really hard to worry about attendance. And then if you forgot your ID when you come to class, there's a little slip to fill out too that says, I forgot my ID, but I was here on time. Please fill that out. I will mark you absent if you don't have your ID, just because I have a lot to think about and a ton of students. So please have your ID. If you don't have your ID, fill out a slip and put it on my keyboard. Here are Weber State's attendance requirements. Okay. And this gets pretty intense and they do require us to follow this. So it's not a negotiable thing. Attendance is mandatory in this class. You need to be in class every day. This isn't a class that you can skip and then do the work on Canvas and be fine. It's not that class. You have a specific minimum amount of seat time that is required in a core college course that is part of your generals. Seat time just means you are in class for a specific amount of time. In order for Weber State to accomplish that with a CE class, they have to be serious about the attendance policies. You can miss up to 5 classes for the semester, not term 1, 5 classes, and term 2, another 5. 5 absences total for the whole semester. You're only allowed to miss up to 5. After those 5 absences, your 6th, 7th, 8th absences, they will all deduct 1% from your final grade. So if you were sitting at a 94%, but you were absent 2 extra times, now your grade is a 92%, and now you have an A minus. So please make sure that you're not missing more than 5 absences. One thing to think about is that you need to talk to your parents about not scheduling appointments during CE class. And if you have planned outings like with the officers or with Vikels, or if you have a planned vacation, plan around those. So those are your only absences. Don't also skip class on top of your planned vacation days. Do you know what I'm saying? 5 is 5 is 5 is 5, right? It is expected that students consistently arrive to class on time. You have to be on time. If we are having a peer review day, we try to start that immediately as class begins. So 5 tardies to class, even if you're only, tardy 10 minutes or 5 minutes, 5 late arrivals to class will equal one of those absences, one of your 5 absences that you can't exceed, right? Also, we had a thing last time where students would attend class, but then when we started individual work time in class, students would get checked out to kind of like avoid the absent policy. But just keep in mind that you have a required amount of seat time in the class. So you can't, if you get checked out early, 5 early checkouts from class will also equate to 1 full absence. So keep that in mind. You have, 4 though, you have some wiggle room there as well. So keep in mind that teachers for a college class, especially like this, we're not required to repeat the teaching for a class that you missed, class time that you missed. So if you're late to class and you missed something, we're not required to repeat that. You just missed it. You're responsible for getting that info. If you missed a full class period, we're not required to offer makeup work. It's just a crazy ton amount of work. Oftentimes I will offer makeup work for you or repeat the teaching for you, but it's not appropriate to expect that. It's not something that we can like realistically do on a regular basis. It's your job, if you're missing any amount of class time, to get that information either from a peer or from Canvas. It's usually always on Canvas. You got to plan ahead, like I said, to limit your absences. Tell your parents, try to avoid scheduling things during class time on those B days, right? If you have planned vacations or trips or activities, plan ahead so you don't have additional absences on top of those, right? So just really think ahead and take a look at your term, take a look at your semester, and take note of any absences that you will have, and talk to me about those in advance. That's really helpful. If you talk to me in advance, I can help you make a plan to complete all your missed work and all the missed content before you go. So while you go, you can actually enjoy your time. And then you don't feel super behind and overwhelmed when you return. So yeah, just, come talk to me in advance. I'll help you, especially if it's a planned absence, and especially if it's a school excused absence, like you're leaving for school reasons. Let me help you make it up in advance so you don't feel overwhelmed and frustrated. Here is the absent work policy from Weber State. You are responsible to make up for any lost class time and any lost content and information from the class. So if you're absent one day, don't come to class the next CE day and ask me what we did in class. You should already know. You should have been on Canvas. It's been available for probably weeks on Canvas before that day. If you ask me what we did in class previously, I'm get real salty because I work really hard to make sure my Canvas is super awesome, right? So you're responsible to obtain the work, and due dates are in place regardless of whether or not you were absent. So if you're absent from class on that day, the assignment was still due before class on that day. All due dates are the same regardless of whether you're here or not. You're welcome to turn them in really, really early, but anything turned in after that due date, it will incur a late penalty, and we'll talk about that later. So keep in mind, even if you were absent, the due dates still stand. So it's not going to be one of those things where it's better to be absent because then you'll have more time to work on your assignment. You won't, right? So don't skip class because your assignment isn't done. Either way, it's late, right? So since Canvas makes all the work available to you 24/7, and I make it all available well in advance, due dates are due dates regardless. That's just it. So the late work policies for this, just gird up your loins, because it's a little bit scary for a second, but keep in mind that it's not the end of the world if you turn a couple things in late. Okay. So just like Deep breaths, okay? Keep in mind that you want to avoid turning in assignments late. Look ahead, plan out your week, plan out your day, plan out your month, so you can manage your stress. This is for your mental health, right? You don't want to feel so overwhelmed and behind that you start to get down on yourself and start to have some mental health issues, right? So every time that you make a good time management choice, you're actually making a good mental health choice and a good stress management choice. So don't think of time management as turning stuff in on time. Think of turning stuff in on time as your way of having self-care, right? So again, remember, you care about yourself when you get your work done in a way that your time is managed appropriately. So you're also going to have to make this class a priority in your life. It's just how it works. You're going to have to maybe avoid a few hangout sessions with friends in order to do work. You're going to have to maybe arrive to the party late because you had work to do and you didn't finish it on time. So if you don't know who Rory Gilmore is, number one, how dare you? And number two, get to know Rory, because her work ethic, aside from the later seasons where it gets a little bit unhealthy, her work ethic is top notch. Learn from Rory. Okay. Get a way to prioritize the tasks in your life to what matters now versus what will still matter in 5 years. And your grade for this class will still matter in 5 years. Assignments are all in this class are almost always due right before class begins. So you don't have until midnight on the due date. You have right before class begins to turn in the assignment. All of the assignments are meant to prepare you for what we're doing in class. So they need to be done and submitted before class because we're probably peer reviewing it in class. So we're probably discussing the completed assignment in class. So all assignments, you'll have tons of notice on it. So if you turned it in late, it does mean that you just didn't look ahead. You know what I'm saying? Again, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. In a process-based class like this, every assignment builds on the last assignment. Everything is like clockwork, right? So you should plan, and the expectation from Weber State and Weber State syllabus says that they expect you to turn all your assignments in on time. There's an assignment due every single day on time, right? So late work is accepted in this class. And that's the good news. There is room for making mistakes and room for making a few bad time management decisions. We all do it. It's not realistic for you to be perfect with your time management, but limit yourself to just a couple. Because late work is accepted, but there are serious drawbacks to that late work. Here are the caveats for the late work. You can turn in an assignment late, but there's a 5% from your final score. So say like you earned an 85%. From that 85%, every day that it's late, it's 5% point deduction, 5% score deduction per day that it's late. So if it's 4 days late, that's 20% deduction. Okay. Remember that late assignments are going to cause an unpleasant domino effect because all the assignments build. So if you're late on one assignment, then that backs up all of the assignments after it until you get caught up. It's very unpleasant. Just avoid it. Some assignments can't be accepted late, but there's only maybe 3 in the whole semester that can't be accepted late. Keep in mind that if you turn in an assignment late, you lose the ability to redo it. And I allow redos, even though Weber State doesn't like that I allow that. I allow redos in this class, and we'll talk about that later. But if you turn it in late, you can't redo it. If you turn it in on time, you have almost unlimited redo abilities. So you can get the grade that you want in this class as long as you're turning everything in on time. Keep in mind that if it's an assignment that's meant to prepare you for a big fat giant assignment, you can't turn a preparatory assignment in after the big fat giant assignment is done. There's no sense in doing that. So I won't accept late assignments after the summative, the big test assignment for it was complete. And then keep in mind that late work is going to be graded late. Don't email me asking when I'm going to grade your late work. I'm going to grade it last, right? Late work is going to be graded last. And when I do give you feedback on your work, it's going to be very minimal. Probably only the rubric is going to be filled out and nothing more. Okay. Late work takes so much extra time for teachers. And this class is already incredibly time intensive as a teacher. It takes so much time. I can't even tell you. One thing that's another caveat for the late work, it's a 5% score deduction automatically applied by Canvas per day it's late, up to 50%. So I'm only going to your grade's only going to be docked 50%. So even if you're turning an assignment way late, way past the deadline, it's still better to turn it in because 50% is so much better for your grade than 0%. So still turn it in even if it's way late, but also don't turn it in late and don't turn it in way late. But if you do, still turn it in because it's still worth 50% versus a 0. And then remember, there's 5 big major assignments in this class. We're going to go into way more detail about that later. But they have a different late policy that Weber State has, and we will talk more about that later. Just stay tuned, kids. One thing that students have tried to do to circumvent this late policy is they'll turn in an incomplete assignment or a mistake assignment, like, oh, I submitted the wrong document, just so they have something submitted. So it looks like they turned it in on time, but they didn't really do it. It was just like a placeholder tried into trick Canvas. So if you turn in an upload error, if you turn in the wrong assignment, if you turn in a blank assignment, all of those assignments are going to be considered late automatically. The only way to fix that and prevent that is before you close your computer and say, oh, I did it right. You're going to double check your submission and make sure it's the right document and that it's an actual document and not a blank document. Double check that, because then you can turn in a second assignment that's the correct one before the due date, and I will only grade the most recent one. But don't turn in a blank or an error assignment to try to circumvent the late policy. It's not going to work for you, my friend, you silly Billy. Sneaky little minx. Don't panic. I have had a lot of students. Remember, you only need 93% to have an A in this class. That's a low percentage, right? So you could turn in a few assignments and you can make a few mistakes. You can give yourself a little bit of leeway. You can even say, I just can't even today, and knowingly turn it in late on purpose and still get an A. So you don't have to be perfect. You just have to pad your grade enough that a few mistakes or a few I just can't even days won't hurt you in the end. So remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. That's really only what we're looking for. Give yourself a little credit. Don't panic. There is wiggle room in the grading on purpose. With all of that being said, if you have something terrible and unforeseeable in your life happen, please don't just say Hernandez can't do anything about it. Weber State does allow me a little leeway as long as I check with them. If you have a tragedy going on or something unforeseeable in your life, communicate with me. Don't just assume that I have to apply all the late penalties or whatever. If you have an extenuating circumstance that I can ethically take to Weber State and advocate for you, I will, right? So we will make a plan together. I have given extensions for extenuating circumstances, but they are rare. They're rare because you know about assignments way in advance in this class, way in advance, like weeks and months in advance, right? So there's really no good excuse to turn something in late, other than bad time management, right? But again, if there is an extenuating circumstance, talk to me about it and we can work out a plan. It's possible that I can move a couple things around for you. It's possible. Okay. It's rare, but it's possible. Just keep in mind that don't ask for an extension when the reason you need more time is just because you didn't plan, right? Poor time management. If you have family planned vacations that you've known about, right? School trips that you've known about, athletic events, those are not emergencies. Those are things you plan around in advance using your time management skills. Those will not, I'm not going to grant an extension for that. Even if you just got too busy and you just didn't realize how much work you had to do, that's what the late penalty's for. Just take the late penalty and move on, right? But if you have an extenuating circumstance, like a severe injury, a death in the family, a car accident, stuff like that, you and I, talk to me about it. We're going to figure out a way to get you through it, okay? So remember, if it's because of your procrastination, no extension. If it's unforeseeable, we talk and we fix, okay? If you have an IEP or a 504, talk to me today. There's paperwork that I have to sign and a few things that I have to explain to you. If you don't know what an IEP or a 504 is, ignore this information. It probably doesn't apply to you. But if you do have an IEP or a 504, we have to have an in-person conversation like as soon as possible today. Okay, I'm happy to accommodate you. I have 2 children with IEPs and 504s. So I totally understand and I will work with you, but we have to have a conversation. The last thing in this class is, again, we get things going in this class. Like when I need to talk to you and I need you to stop talking, I say when the wind doesn't blow and you say only the cool people have actually said it when you're supposed to. It's Vikings Row. Okay. Okay. That's how I get your attention. When you say Vikings Row, you don't talk after that and you just listen, because I'm no doubt going to say something amazing. Keep in mind that these policies are a little bit scary, but you and I are on the same team. You and I are on the same team trying to produce what we need to produce in order to get you that college credit from Weber State. We're on the same team. We're not against each other. I'm rooting for you. I will help you. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Okay, bye.